Hey everyone, Spicy Toast Gaming here. Hope you're having a great day. Hope this video can make it a little bit better. Today we're going to be diving into Ahri and breaking down everything about this character to try to help you succeed through the path of champions. So we're going to start off just looking at Ahri herself, at least her card. So she is a 2-cost 2/2 with quick attack. Attack the first time I attack strike, swap me with an ally to my right, then recall it. So when you are attacking, she essentially is supporting the character to her right. So when she gets a hit off, so if she has a blocker or if she hits the nexus, then she is going to swap positions with the card to her right, meaning that if there was someone blocking her originally, that person, their block is going to fizzle. She's not going to get hit by that. And then she is going to be able to attack instead of that second unit. And that second unit is then getting recalled. Now, if Ahri doesn't get a strike off, like if she's frostbitten or something like that, then that kind of breaks the chain and then she will be able to get blocked and actually killed. But this is a good way to get some recalls going and also get multiple strikes off with your Ahri. Pretty solid effect. Her level up is you've recalled 5+ units. Now, this is just baseline recalling this many units. She doesn't have to be on the board. She doesn't have to see this happen. Just throughout the game, if you've recalled 5 units, she levels. Now when she levels, she goes to a 3/3. She gains elusive, and now she does that same effect, but now when you recall an ally, you reduce his cost by 1. So that's really nice, some cost reduction, so you can replay those units you're recalling. And now instead of just swapping with the person on her right, she'll do that the entire length of your board. So if you have a full board of 6 units, she'll be able to attack and swap places with all of them. Now, important to note, you don't have to have Ahri swap places with any of your units. Just put any units you don't want her to swap with on the left of her, and then everyone on her right is going to get swapped, and then she's just recalling all those units, so they're going back into your hand, and then also they're getting their cost reduced by 1. Also important to note that whoever is blocking the target where Ahri finishes, that is going to be then the one that actually is able to hit Ahri in return. Now, Ahri does get elusive when she levels up, but she doesn't have it baseline. And even when she does have it, just because she has elusive, that doesn't mean anyone can block her initially, but any targets to her right, if they don't have elusive, those can still be blocked. So you need to be careful with your Ahri and make sure that the last person that she is swapping with is going to have a favorable trade for you. So either running like Challenger to make sure that unit is going to be blocked by someone that Ahri can kill with your quick attack, or making sure that unit is elusive so that Ahri won't be able to get blocked and killed there. A lot of interesting things you can do with this effect, but quite strong. Now, her champion spell is Charm, 2-cost focus speed, so you can't use this in response to attacks or spells, but recall an ally to give an enemy vulnerable this round, create an Ahri in your deck. Great way to just recall some of your units and then be able to replay them. And then this vulnerable is nice. You can use this to make sure that the last person Ahri is swapping with is one that Ahri would be able to kill with her quick attack. It's a very fun, versatile champion, a 2-cost champion, and we all know how great and broken that can be in Path of Champions. Let's go take a look at her first 3 star powers. So here's her Constellation. Here we have the first 3 star powers. So first star, when you recall an ally, granted spirit. So that is a really nice effect, just making sure your units get slightly buffed up when they get recalled. But then the really important one is the 2-star. This is doing a lot for you. You want to get this 2-star as soon as possible. So you get that +1 starting mana. And now units keep permanent stat buffs and keywords when recalled. So normally when a unit gets recalled, they kind of get reset to their like base form of that card. Here though, you're keeping all permanent stat buffs and keywords. Now, if you have any temporary buffs like a give effect, those don't get saved, but this is also only keeping permanent stat buffs, not debuffs. So if your unit is like stunned or frostbitten, you can recall them, play them again, and that effect will be gone. So this is just fantastic for you, gives you a lot of keyword and buff synergy, and it also makes the fact that your units are getting the spirit from your first star power be a little bit more impactful. So this is very, very good. But then you also have, when you recall an ally, reduce its cost by 1. So this is very similar to Ahri's level up effect, but just gain some cost reduction so you can play more of your units for even cheaper is very nice. And then you can actually pair this with a leveled up Ahri. So any other units you recall get 2 cost reduction. So this is a very good 2nd star power. Now for your 3rd star power, pretty simple and straightforward, but also quite good. When you summon or recall an ally, granted spirit. So pretty much just every time you're playing a unit, they're already going to have 1/1 from spirit. And so all of your units just baseline are bigger than normal. and then you can start recalling them and replaying them and just make them bigger and bigger. Baseline, just her first 3 star powers are excellent, and if you get Ahri to level 30, get some good builds going, you can just keep her at 3 stars and steamroll pretty much anything in the game. Let's take a look at her starting deck now. So up first we have Charms. This is, again, the same as Ahri's champion spell. Always great when you get your champion spell in your starting deck. This gets mana potion, so it is reduced down in cost to just 1 mana. Really nice. And recall an ally, give an enemy vulnerable this round. We also have the dancing droplet, so 1 cost. Our 1 costs are very important, since from our 2 star, units we recall cost 1 less. So if it's a 1 cost, we can then just play it for free. So every time we recall this, we can play it for free if we have the 2 star. Very nice. So this is elusive. When I'm recalled, draw 1. Very good for you. This is giving you some draw. This is elusive, so you can have this be the last unit that Ahri swaps with. So Ahri is often not going to have a blocker there. Overall, fantastic. This has the special delivery, so attack, plant 5 poison puff caps in the enemy deck. Really good. Overall, solid card for you. Then we have the Sparring Student, another 1 cost. When you summon another ally, give me 1/1 this round. This also gets the Coral Crush Gauntlet, so +1 in Brash. Now, this is a temporary effect, so you can't like snapshot this where you buff him up a bunch, recall him, and then when you play him again, he's going to keep all of those stats. That doesn't work, but still a solid 1-drop, and you really like your 1-drops again since you can play them for free once you recall them. Next, then we just have Ahri as a 2-drop. Then we also have Mr. Root, so this has Spirit, and then when I'm summoned, draw 1. Now, while his stats say 0/1, it's not factoring in the Spirit, so that's giving you an additional 1/1. You also have the Bright Staff, so that's giving you another 1/1, and this also ends up getting the Elusive, so another solid card for you. This is also giving you more draw, so this is draw when you summon, and your droplet was draw when you recall. Now, this does cost 2, so you can't play him for free unless you have your Ahri leveled, but still, very solid card for you. Then we have the Sprite Dance, so 2 cost fast. Recall an ally, grant all stacks of its spirit to another ally. So this is a great combat trick to save 1 unit from dying by recalling them, but then buffing up another unit so that they survive the attack. Very good. Also, the Oracle's Lens, the predict here, is fantastic because you can use this on your dancing droplet. So you recall them, you get your predict going, so you see what card you can potentially draw. But then since you're recalling the dancing droplet, it is going to also draw 1. So it's pretty much a predict draw 1 combo, and very, very good actually. Next up, we then have the Maker. So 3 cost, play recall a unit with less power than me. This is very important because play effects, you can keep summoning or triggering these over and over again because you can recall a unit and then you replay them. And so Ahri's like the really only champion that can just trigger play effects over and over again. Very, very good. You have a fairly similar playstyle like Lilia, whereas Lilia is all about re-triggering summon effects. Here, you can also re-trigger summon effects, but you can also do the same with play effects. Very good. But recall a unit with less power than me. So you can recall an enemy unit or one of your own units. Now, this does get the pickaxe, making it easier to recall enemy units or even your own. So that's solid. And then with the spirit you get from your star powers, you can make this unit pretty big, and it can be fantastic to recall enemy units. So this can function as a great form of removal, making the enemy have to again spend a whole bunch of mana to try to play a unit. Really solid. But again, you can use this to recall one of your own units as well, so good flexibility there. Next, we have the Homecoming, so fast speed, recall an ally unit or landmark to recall an enemy unit or landmark. So again, great way to remove enemy targets, enemy landmarks, or protect your own. And this also has the Mighty Mustache to summon a Mighty Poro. So overall, very solid card for you. We also then have the Pathless Ancient, so 4 cost. I cost 2 less for each unit you've recalled this round. This gets the Phage, so it gets a whole bunch of stats, and Challenger. Again, Challenger, very important to make sure your Ahri gets the best trades. But even though this is a 4 cost and the most expensive card in your deck, you have even more cost reduction, so often you'll end up just playing this for free. Overall, Ahri has a excellent deck, and it synergizes very well together. Let's go finish up now looking at the rest of the Constellation. So for one, the Constellation design is very good. You come up here, this is your 3-star, and then it branches out, and you can just work on getting whatever upgrades you want. Nothing's really locked. Like at most, you have to get 1 upgrade before getting this one here, because this is your 6-star. You're gonna probably have a while before you can get this, but let's go and take a look at some of the upgrades here. So up first, your 4th star, hold it, stun the strongest enemy. Always a good general defensive power, but it's also extra good for Ahri because with Ahri, you really want to spend your first turn developing your board. And so just making sure you don't have to deal with the enemy aggression in those first couple rounds because they're just going to be stunned. You can focus on your own board and then just end the game because you're able to steamroll the enemy. This is actually quite handy, and it's more impactful than you're really going to think just looking at it. Then we have the mana flow for the 5th star, so just get an extra mana gem. Since you have such a cheap deck, this is actually, again, very impactful. This also lets you play Ahri and then one of your 1-cost turn 1. You always want to attack with another unit paired with Ahri so she can recall them and get a strike off. So overall, excellent. And then for the 6th star here, we have when you recall an ally, it strikes the enemy nexus. So very simple and straightforward, but this gives you a lot of power, a lot of extra damage, and then it opens up a new synergy for you of Nexus strike effects, because now you could pair yourself with a champion like Teemo and just keep recalling him, playing him for free, and just he's constantly getting Nexus strikes off. So this is a very fun yet simple 6 star. As far as the bonus stars, up first, 2 extra rerolls. Nice. Your support champs have Stalker's Blade. This is great since, again, you can try to keep recalling and then replaying them so they get more and more strikes off. Also, the Maker has Locket of the Iron Solari, so when I'm summoned to give me Barrier, this is nice because you can then potentially recall an enemy unit and then have this unit as a blocker with Barrier so they will survive. This is also another target you often want to recall so you can replay and get that play effect. So you can also then re-trigger the Barrier. We also have spells you acquire in adventures have Mana Potion. So just any spells you pick up from like the shop, after battle rewards, any of those are going to have Mana Potion. Very nice, giving you some more cost reduction. Often a lot of the spells you're picking up are already pretty cheap. So this is going to make many of them free or just like 1 mana, which is excellent. Pretty much everything in Ahri's kit is just very cheap. So it lets you play a lot of cards, which is really excellent. We also have Dancing Droplet gets Flash Bomb Satchel. So when I'm summoned, plant 4 Flash Bombs in the top 8 cards of the enemy deck. Now this also has an item to plant Puff Caps as well. So just playing this card, you can fill the enemy deck with Flash Bombs and Puff Caps, which is pretty fun. And then the rest here are just the gemstones. Overall, Ahri has a pretty solid kit. Her first 3 star powers are excellent. I don't think you have to try to go out and get a lot of the extra upgrades. While they are nice and helpful, baseline Ahri just at 3 stars is exceptionally powerful as is, and she has tons of power just baked into her 2nd star power. So while she is great to upgrade, again, don't feel like you need to try to rush through and unlock as much of this constellation as possible. Taking a look at relics now, let's start off with some of the common ones and what you probably want to be using while you are leveling her up. So as always, if you're trying to level up as fast as possible, you want to go for one of the cosmic blessings, either the normal or greater ones. That's just probably going to be based on the amount that you have lying around. I know there's going to be some people like me that just have so many they can use them at any time, but there'll be others that need to really be careful with them. But if you're trying to level up as fast as possible, just go on and throw on one of those right away. Otherwise, the Dreams of Yordles is pretty nice and impactful. The Spirit and Impact is very good. Impact, you're able to trigger multiple times because you're attacking and getting multiple strikes off with your attack, since you can recall the unit next to you and swap places with them. So Dreams of Yordles is a great baseline common relic that anytime you have a common slot, not bad to throw in there. Rage Blade isn't terrible. She is a 2 cost. You can play her round 1 and try to get multiple attacks in. Now, she only triggers this once per attack, so it's not like she gets crazy benefit from this, but any cheap champion that you want to play and just scale up throughout the game, this isn't bad. Lost Chapter, excellent as always. And with Ahri, you do have a lot of spells to play, and most of them are pretty cheap, so being able to immediately refill your mana, try to get some of your recall spells going, not bad. Chameleon's Necklace, also very good. Since she is a 2-cost champion, you want to be sure you can play her round 1 if possible, so getting more copies of her can really help with that. And then your champion spell is also very beneficial, so even if you have Ahri on the board, drawing another copy isn't going to be something that's bad for you. And then to finish up with common relics, let's just look at these 3. So we have a Star Child Staff, Game Start Healer Nexus 5. Always good, especially when you are leveling up a champion. Just healing 5 every single game is excellent. Overwhelm can be quite nice because you can struggle with getting blocked out, and then since your Ahri is normally attacking more than anyone else, making sure she has the Overwhelm is very good. And then also the Z Drive, just to get some more rerolls, also always beneficial. Taking a look at some rare relics now. For one, Troll King's Crown, very simple and straightforward, but you are trying to attack with a bunch of your units, making sure you can't just get blocked out and not get any of your damage through is quite nice. So Overwhelm is solid. Also for Ahri, it is a little cheesy, but you can use a lot of the play effect relics with her. So going for like Utmost Despair, play grant enemies gloom, or Wicked Harvest, play deal 3 to all of the units. Now obviously be careful not to kill your own board with this, but these can be pretty fun with your Ahri. For most champions, these often aren't worth it because you're only triggering the play effect once, but with Ahri you can keep recalling her, playing her again, and then just trigger these multiple times. So these can be pretty fun, and you can even stack like multiple. I do think I'll probably do an Utmost Despair run once with Ahri just glooming the entire enemy board. Should be a good time. So these do have a little bit of kind of special synergy with Ahri. Scourge's Stash, this is one that you really want to combo around, and normally it's not going to be worth it, but Plunder I cost 2 less. That's going to make Ahri free, so then if you recall her, you can just keep playing her over and over again for free. You could potentially pair this with like a Lost Chapter, so you can constantly play her, refill your mana, recall her, play her again. And so if you want to go for an interesting build where you're just playing Ahri for free a whole bunch of times in a single round, this can be a way to try to achieve that. Grand General's counterplan, round start, create a fleeting copy of me in hand. Ahri will often be on your board at round start, so getting a copy of your champion spell for the recall can be very good, and then it also gives you a bit of a safety net so that if they are able to kill you Ahri, you then have a fleeting copy you can play for her, so not bad. Gatebreaker, -1 power, play I strike the enemy nexus. Now this normally you're not using on its own, you want to pair it with like him that we'll touch on a little bit later, but you can trigger this effect since it's a play effect multiple times in a single game, so it does help you out a bit more than most others, and kind of the same effect with Stalker's Blade. Now Stalker's Blade is a summon effect, but still you can recall her, play her again, and just get this to strike multiple times. And while her stats baseline are fairly weak, remember from your star powers, every time you recall and then play her again, she's getting more and more spirit stacks, so she's getting bigger and bigger. And so some of these strike effects can actually start being pretty good for you, especially with the build that we'll touch on in a moment. Also, there's Succubus Brand, so 1/1, solid. And when I kill a unit, summon a random husk. So those husks give you some stats and keywords. You're already at 3 stars. Since they're going to be summoned, they're going to get extra spirit. And then when you play another unit, they consume the husk, getting all of those keywords and stats. And because of Ahri's 2-star, even if you recall that unit, they're still going to save those stats and keywords. So while this can overcrowd your board a bit, it can be a fun way to just get some even more scaling and has some decent synergy with your Ahri. Blade Rack, solid just to make sure all your units have that challenger. Quite often you'll have a pretty full board with your Ahri, so having any relics that support your units is pretty good. Hymn of Valor, this one is very good. When I'm summoned, create a redoubled valor in hand, it costs 3. So that redoubled valor, fully heal an ally, then double its power and health. This is a permanent stat increase, so even if you recall the unit, they're going to keep these stats, and this costs 3. So you could pair this with either a Hidden Tome or Lost Chapter that both have the effect of play, refill your spell mana. So Ahri, you can recall her, replay her. When you do, she is going to create a redoubled valor that costs 3 and refill your mana, so you can then immediately play it and just start stacking her up. So this is a very good relic and one that you can really abuse to scale up your Ahri or really any of your units to just be absolutely massive. And then if you want, you can pair this with a Gatebreaker so that every time you're recalling her, she's striking the Nexus, and that's just getting progressively stronger. So it's kind of a way to have like 6-star Ahri before you actually have 6-star Ahri. We also have the Guardian Orb, similar to many other champions. When I'm summoned, grant epic items to 3 random cards in your deck. With Ahri, since you can replay her a whole bunch of times, this has that normal synergy. We also have Green Glade Shadeleaf support, grant my support ally elusive. This is good because this will trigger before you recall the unit. And since this is a grant, so it's permanent, that unit, even though they're getting recalled, they will keep that elusive, so that's nice. This also ensures that Ahri is not going to normally have a blocker when she swaps places with the unit to her right, so that's nice. Now note with the support effects, it only happens to the first target on your right, so if Ahri is going through the entire line, it's not like she's granting all of them the elusive. Now that's about it for rare relics. Let's go look at some epic ones. As you're probably noticing though, there is a lot of different ways you can build your Ahri. She is a very versatile champion, so just because we're not mentioning a specific relic here doesn't mean it's not good for her. Ahri is incredibly versatile. There's so many different builds you can use for her. Up first though, Beast Within, very simple and straightforward. Now you don't have as many subtypes, or really almost any at all, but the Overwhelm is nice, so if you just want to make sure your units have Overwhelm, it's okay. Not the best thing for Ahri, but not bad. Spirit of the Bureau can be solid. Allies that cost 1 or less have Overwhelm, Quick Attack, and Fury. This will often be just a better version of the Beast Within for you, because a lot of your units can hit 1 cost or less. Even Ahri, while she's a 2 cost, as soon as you recall her once, she goes down to a 1 cost, and so a lot of your units are going to be able to fall under this, so this can be pretty solid for you. Spectral Scissors is one that is okay, but you have to be careful with it. So 2 power, support, if my support ally is a follower, grant it ephemeral, summon an exact copy of it attacking. So this can be good because before Ahri is at her 6 stars, you're making a unit next to ephemeral, but you're immediately recalling it before it strikes, so it's not going to actually die. So this is a good way to buff up your Ahri. You still get a version of that unit attacking, and then you get a unit in hand. Now, the unit in hand can be good and bad. Ahri can really struggle with hand space, and so you just have too many units in your hand. And so sometimes this can just make it so your hand is a little bit overcrowded, but it's still giving you some more added pressure. So definitely it's one to play around if you have it and see what you think of it. I know some people really like it, some get a little bit annoyed by it. Secret technique, this is a fun one, especially if you're going for the Hymn of Valor build. So you're trying to play your Hymn of Valor to double up your Ahri, because you'll just get twice the effect of it. So this one can be pretty fun, specifically in that situation. Oath, also excellent. Play, shuffle 5 level 2 champions in your deck, then double your stats and draw one of them. You can pair this with 2 star gems to get some more cost reduction for your allied champions, and then also reduce their cost. So whatever you pull out with your Oath of the Guardians, you often can play them for free and make them even stronger. But again, this is a play effect. So with Ahri, you can just recall her and play this again and again and again, filling your deck with these champions and then drawing them. So this is actually incredibly powerful. And if you have Oath, definitely try it out on Ahri. Hidden Tome, this is essentially just a better version of the Lost Chapter. So power, when you play or level up a champion, refill your spell mana. Now again, this is a play effect, but with Ahri, you can just keep replaying her. And so this can be very good for that. But if you don't have this, just going for the common relic Lost Chapter will have almost the same amount of usefulness for you. Another relic that is absolutely incredible for you is the Fear Cleaving Axe. So Spirit, and then attack, boost all units. And so every time you attack, you're buffing up all of your units. Even if they get recalled, they're keeping those stats. So Fear Cleaving Axe is absolutely excellent for you. And then Essence Thief, this is actually Ahri's relic. So this is the one you get in the bundle. When you recall another unit, grant me 1 power. So really nice way to keep buffing up your Ahri, even if you're not recalling her. And then power, game start, create a homecoming in hand, grant it double time watch. Now this homecoming, you already have this in your starting deck, and when you grant it double time watch, that means that every round start it reduced its cost by 1. It gives that item to all the homecoming in your deck, and so this is actually pretty solid for you. It's not insane, so don't feel like you have to get it, but it is definitely nice to have. All right, just a few left. So up first, Echoing Spirit. Game start, create 7 copies of me in your deck. Champion spells cost 1 less. Nice to get a whole bunch of extra copies of your Ahri, and then your champion spell is your charm. This already has 1 cost reduction from a mana potion in your deck, but then this also having the cost reduction right here makes it cost nothing, so that is excellent. And you can pair this with pretty powerful build that we'll touch on after we get through all the relics. So also you have Death's Foil, +1 power, and while I'm attacking, can't take damage or die. Nice to just be sure you protect your Ahri, you don't have to worry about it. Cease and Desist, this one is actually very good. So 3 impact, and then play, if you have 10 or more power, give me barrier, and start a free attack challenging the strongest enemy. For most champions, you're really focused on this second part. But for Ahri, you actually just care about the 3 impact, because since you can strike multiple times while you're attacking, you can actually get this impact damage to go off many times, doing a ton of damage to the enemy nexus. Now Ahri, you can scale her up to get to that 10 or more power, but even if you don't, this is still doing a lot of damage for you. But this can also help you then close out games if you are struggling, or if the game's just going on a little bit too long. But you can also pair this with like Fear Cleaving Axe to boost your Ahri when she attacks, so you're also increasing that impact. These 2 relics together are actually exceptionally good. And then last up for specific epic relics, Black Shield, when you summon an ally, granted spell shield. With Ahri, you like to protect your units, so making sure they all have a spell shield is nice, and then when you replay them, they're able to get that spell shield again, so overall quite solid for you. Now as far as some builds for Ahri, here's one that can be very fun. So Echoing Spirit, you get a whole bunch of Ahri, you make your champion spell cost nothing. Hidden Tome, so that when you play her, you refill your mana, and then Hymn of Valor, so that you're also making this redoubled valor that costs 3. So you're able to play Ahri, refill your mana, create a redoubled valor, double her up, and then normally you're going to have multiple copies of your Ahri. You can recall her with her champion spell that's also free, and then you can play her again just for 1 mana because she has the cost reduction from your star powers, and then just trigger all of this again. So essentially you're spending 1 mana to continually double the stats of your champion. This can be a very fun build if you just want to have the most massive Ahri possible. Now you can tweak this in a couple different ways. If you want to maybe get rid of like the Echoing Spirit or Hidden Tome, you could throw in the Secret Technique, so you get twice the amount of stats from your redoubled valor. It does make it less consistent, but makes your redoubled valor hit a little bit harder. And then you could also throw on like a Gatebreaker, and again try to replace like an Echoing Spirit or Hidden Tome. so that when you are recalling your Ahri, she's also striking the enemy nexus. That can be pretty fun as well. But if you want to go for a more aggressive Ahri build, we're actually focusing on attacking more, this can be a nice one to give you a lot of extra stats with the baseline spirit here. You gain some extra scaling from recalling units right here, and then you have the impact, and this way you're just going to be doing a ton of damage on the enemy nexus and also buffing up your entire board. This is also a solid one to go with as well. But if you don't have epic relics, there's still plenty of builds you can do with Ahri. Like this one, you can go for the Hymn of Valor, so you play her, double her stats. You have the mana refill from Lost Chapter to still play this for free. And then when you recall her, which you do have many ways to do, you can then get that strike off. So this one is also fine. But there's also so many other relics we've mentioned. There's so many ways you can build your Ahri. While she is great with many of the epic relics, she's also fantastic with tons of the rare relics as well. All right, that's it for the in-game portion. Let's go look at what powers you might want to look out for, support champs, cards, and finish off with her rankings. All right, so taking a look at some powers now. Now, like I said earlier, Ahri is a very versatile champ, a lot of different powers and effects that she can utilize. So we'll just highlight some of them here, but definitely there's tons in the game for you to try out. Up first, though, we have Welcome Gifts. When you summon an ally, grant it a random keyword. This is so good because of your second star power, where any keywords you get in your units, at least any permanent ones, are kept even if they get recalled. So you can just keep recalling your units, playing them again, getting an extra keyword, but they're going to keep their old keyword as well. So great for just a keyword spamming playstyle. Also, we have Sharing is Caring. Now, this one is excellent. When you summon an ally, grant its keywords to all allies. Now, the reason this is so good is because of your third star power of when you summon a unit, grant it Spirit. So your units already have Spirit, so every time you play them, they're then buffing the entire board with Spirit. So essentially, every time you play a unit, you're buffing up your entire board, which is incredible. Now, it pairs really well if you have like Welcome Gifts. They have other keywords as well. You have a lot of elusive and stuff like that. But even without that, just the fact that you have Spirit and that's going to hit your entire board, this gives you insane scaling. Last up then, we have Spellslinger. Your spells cost 1 less. Really good and often can be better than some of the effects like Sorcery, which is refilling your spell mana. With Ahri, many of your spells already cost just like 1 mana. So you can actually get a lot of your spells to just be completely free with Spellslinger. So this is quite good, but if you see other effects like Sorcery, that's also solid. Next up then we have the Trifarian Might. When you summon a 5+ power ally, it strikes the weakest enemy. Now again, from your scaling with all of your Spirit, you can get this to trigger very easily, and then you can then recall your units and play them again, so you can just keep triggering this over and over again, giving you tons of removal. Also, Titanic Wake, when you summon a unit with 8 attack, health, or cost, granted 8/8. Now this will take a little bit longer to trigger than your Trifarian, but you can still consistently get this off throughout your games because you have such good scaling. And then you can just keep summoning a unit, buffing it up by 8/8, recalling it, playing it again, and just buffing it up again. So this can just give you, again, just insane scaling. Very, very good. Then we have the Duelist. When you summon an ally, give it Challenger this round. Now this is a temporary buff, but you can just recall the unit, summon again, give it Challenger again. So this is also very strong. Last up then, Vanguard Lookout. Game starts, summon 2 Vanguard Lookouts. Really nice just to get units on your board, because especially Ahri needs units to recall. So being able to play her and immediately having targets for her to attack alongside is really nice. That's the same thing with the Seat of Power. This summons the Emperor's Dais, so that when you attack, you also summon a attacking Sand Soldier. This pretty much guarantees that your Ahri is always going to be able to have a target to recall, so she can get both of her strikes off. So that is really good. But any of the effects that are summoning units at the start of the game can be very good for you. Be slightly careful about some that are summoning units every single round, because that can sometimes overcrowd your board, so do be careful of that. Overcrowding is something that Ahri struggles with. And last up, Crush. Allies have Overwhelm. Just nice to make sure you're getting your attacks in and not just getting blocked out. Also going for Domination round start rally. Also very good if you just be able to attack every single round. That's it for powers though, even though there's plenty others that are also good, just some that we wanted to highlight. Let's go take a look at support champions. Support champions, as always, not a exhaustive list, but just some reasons why you might want to consider picking some champions. So up first, we have Recall. Anyone else that has the ability to recall units can be very good for you. Then we also have the play effects. Anyone else that has play effects, very good for Ahri because you can trigger those multiple times. And then lastly, especially if you do end up getting her to 6 stars, you do have the Nexus Strike, since you do have unique synergies there with that as well. Now, as far as some champions, Zed is actually excellent. He has a lot of cheap units, and he also has recall synergy, so that works out very well for you. Then we also have Aurelia. Aurelia, great for being able to, again, have some recall synergy, but then also having some very strong play effects. Many of her cards have the play effect of summon or start a free attack summoning the blades, so Aurelia is pretty good. Then for Nexus Strike, being able to go for someone like Teemo, where you can just keep replaying him, recalling him, and getting those Nexus Strikes off is very good, although again, that is more if you end up getting her to 6 stars. Now here are some cards to look out for. So most of them are going to be recall cards. Here on the left, Shadow Shift, fast speed, recall an ally to summon a living shadow in its place. Now this is something you really want to be looking for, is any fast speed recalls so you can save your unit in the middle of combat. Very, very nice. So Shadow Shift, great for that. Gruesome Theater, this is one that's good early, but it's probably not going to be good in tougher adventures, because again, it has the recall a unit with 3 or less health. Often your units and enemy units are going to be too strong for this to kick in, so don't blindly get this, but it can be good based on your adventure. We also then have Children of the Forest. So again, fast speed, 1 cost. You notice these all have mana potions, and that is because our Ahri in her Constellation has spells you acquire have mana potion. This is why so many of your spells are so cheap, which is absolutely fantastic. But Children of the Forest, fast speed, recall an ally, or spend 8 mana to summon ephemeral copies of the 3 strongest followers you recall this game. Again, though, the biggest thing is you want some more fast speed recall spells, so all 3 of these work for that. Then to the left here, we have 2 cards that have good play effects. So Yone, little expensive, but still play stun 2 enemies, and then Spellslinger, play stun an enemy. If it's already stunned, deal 2 damage to it instead. Any cards you see that have strong play or even summon effects, but especially play effects, you are very good with, since you can trigger those more than just about any other champions. So just some types of cards for you to look out for. Now, finishing off with her rankings, we think before level 20, she's a B tier champion. She's okay, not the best while leveling up, definitely a little bit slow, but after level 20, I think she becomes a S tier champion. She is absolutely fantastic, very, very good. Again, 2 cost champions are normally excellent just because you get them on the board immediately. They scale really well with relics, and she has some good star powers. As far as her regional rankings, we think she is top of her region. Now we say top, not best, because we don't think she is alone just the best champion in the entire region, but she's up there with like Yasuo for the top tier of her region. Now, as far as some pros, the fact that you can re-trigger play effects is absolutely insane. Normally that's been a massive limitation in Path of Champions. Anytime you see a summon effect, it's great because normally you can trigger that multiple times, but if it's a play effect, you're always like, oh, I can only really use that once. With Aurelia, that's finally not the case. You can just trigger play effects so many times. It's absolutely fantastic. And then she is also unique. She's the only ally recall centric deck in the game, and so she can sometimes feel a little bit similar to Lilia, but in general she is just a very unique and fun champion. Now, as far as some cons, she can be a little bit slow early, and I don't necessarily mean in the early game, I mean in the early levels. She's pretty slow to level, and when I was playing her alongside like Heimerdinger, because they both released at the same time, Heimerdingers felt so much better in the early levels, whereas Ahri did feel a little bit slow to get going. So if you're trying to level her up, do know it can be a little bit rough early, but it's definitely worth it in the end. And then lastly, we do have the Champ Reliant. Now, she's not as Champ Reliant as some of the champions like Heimerdinger that just released as well. You do have a very good deck and some very strong effects, but you still want to be playing your Ahri, especially round 1, since she is a champion you can play in the very first round. That's about it for the Ahri guide, though. I hope this helped you out. If it did, a like and subscribe is greatly appreciated. Thank you for watching to the very end, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.